Good morning, Autonomizers, or evening, or afternoon, wherever you're watching this. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today we are joined with Season 2 and Season 1 graduates, a whole variety of attendees. This is going to be a really wild episode because we graduated. Last night was a graduation lecture, and we are going to go over our accomplishments that we've made from this last season. So it should be really exciting to hear from everybody. So just to toss this around, because we got a full house, go ahead and say your name and what you were doing on New Year's. Let's start off with Tony.
I'm Tony. I was hanging out with my family on New Year's. Played some video games with the nephews. And welcomed in the new year, a good family way. All right, so that's it.
Hey, I'm Hunter. I spent the evening New Year's with my girlfriend. It was very casual, made a nice soup, and went to bed.
Daniel.
I wasn't saying anything. I just went, and then it lit up. I'm like, oh, it's me. Okay. Yeah, I just spent New Year's with my family, my children, and my partner. It was really quiet. It wasn't boring or anything. It was just really quiet. It was nice.
Daniel,
right,
where were you?
So far, it sounds like I probably had the loudest New Year's. We went out to a bar, and there was dancing and a DJ and lights and all kinds of crazy nonsense. So yeah, it was really exciting, I guess. That's not really my bag, but that's what I did. And I got to enjoy my first ever paid vacation in my life. So that was nice.
Nice.
Wait, Agnieszka.
Yeah, so my name is Agnieszka, and my New Year's I spent with my family, my parents, and some family friends. And the power went out at 9 p.m. because there was a downed tree in our neighborhood. So there was a big storm going on the West Coast that when the tree goes down, the power goes out. And the power was out till 2:30 in the morning. So we ended up playing some board games and candlelight, and it was very nice. And we had some champagne, and the TV wasn't on at all, which was wonderful.
That does sound nice. You had a Black New Year's. Jim, you're calling in from Hawaii. Thanks for getting up so early, buddy.
Aloha. Yeah, I'm waiting for the caffeine to kick in.
Yeah. How was your New Year's?
It was fantastic. We just stayed home. We had some friends over for dinner. We were going to play Jenga, but our daughter, 4-year-old daughter, decided that she wanted to build a little structure, a little house with the Jenga pieces instead of actually playing the game. Illegal fireworks are huge here in Hawaii, New Year's and 4th of July. And so I every year I go out, we have a little bench that sits in front of our house, and I just sit out and watch the fireworks go off for like half an hour because they're just literally surrounding our house. And even if I wanted to go to bed, I couldn't because there are just so many explosions happening everywhere. You couldn't pop. Well, you don't see the cat for 12 hours because he's so freaked out from all the noise, but it was a great time.
Cool. So you made it till midnight?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Congratulations. Yeah, probably you have a lot of Asian imports, so those fireworks just find their way onto the island.
Yeah, I don't know where they're sneaking in, but I mean, there are people the next block over in my neighborhood are launching off things that you wouldn't think that normal people would be able to buy. It's intense.
Some rockets trying to leave the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Well, my New Year's was quiet throughout the day, and I went to a baby New Year's party at 4 o'clock, and that was a lot of fun. Got to see my daughter interact with other 1- and 2-year-olds, and got to see some really cool toys that I want to get for my daughter. But then learned about this thing I want to do next year where families are doing New Year's at noon, because then the family gets to do a countdown and have a good time. And my wife is always in bed by 10 o'clock. So typically our New Year's are pretty quiet. But I do have a video of what I was doing. I got paid pretty handsomely to DJ for New Year's. So Daniel, that might have been my clone you saw. It was fun. The place was popping at midnight, so
Josh with a party master.
it was a good time. I've really catered my music selection to make a room full of white people dance. So pretty good at it now. Well, that's great. It's 2020. We're off to a new decade, and I couldn't imagine myself being anywhere better than where I am right now, professionally, as part of a community, knowing my path ahead for my business, and after we go over this week review, we're going to talk about our achievements that we've accomplished in this last 4 or 5 months of season 2, and I'm really excited to see and hear about everyone's growth. First, I want to show some lexicon action. Rich brought this up this last week. Autonomize, it's a thing. So being autonomizers means to make autonomous, to confer autonomy or the right of self-government upon. So that is now.
Did you guys add that?
No.
Oh.
It's from Oxford. Yeah.
That's awesome, because we've been using that, and then all of a sudden I saw it pop up a couple days ago, and it was like, hey, what do you know? We didn't even make it up.
Right. No, it was very self-fitting. Last night, right before my power went out, while Rich was troubleshooting on his end, we got to make an announcement for the new Autonomy Unlimited. I'm going to just play a small little clip of that, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Hello, everybody. We have a big announcement to make. With this start of this new year, I'm very proud to announce that Richard, Lisa, and I have started a new business venture called Autonomy Unlimited. Autonomy Unlimited will be a digital marketing and consulting company and an extension of the Autonomy course. And I'm going to walk you through the website and see how this greatly applies to you. So you can now go to autonomyunlimited.com and check out our website. There's not a whole lot to it except for a form. And if you have a project that you'd like to work on, if any graduates would like to become apprentices on working projects, that's also a place that you can sign up to. So off to a great start for the new year. I'm really excited to be a part of this project, and really excited to be working alongside all of you. This last week, several of the Autonomy Unlimited members had a meeting with Michael Badnarik. We have been working on Mr. Badnarik's website since his had trouble and had some code issues, and then he came to us after we've been offering him an update on his website. And so this last week, we had a really great discovery call with Badnarik to show him the progress of the website and to bring together the copywriters and their ideas. Tony was there for technical help, and Richard Grove joined us to help brainstorm. And I was really pleased and happy with how the meeting flowed. Everybody got to weigh in on their specialty and lead the client along to a place of understanding while also having his needs met and understood. Because it's really important for, as marketers, we have the expertise and the know-how of what needs to be translated to the audience, but the client typically doesn't. And so, especially with Badnarik, he's an expert in so many ways, and he admits that marketing isn't one of them. So to be able to translate and understand what he wants to present, but then also what the audience needs to see is something else. Tony, Deirdre, you're on that call. Do you guys have anything to add to that?
Well, I'm just excited to get Michael out there and get those ideas out there. So I'm glad to be working with Michael. I like hearing his stories. He tells a lot of stories during our meetings. So, yep. I think that I think he has a lot of potential, and that's why I think he could help a lot of people. It's just a matter of connecting him to the right audience. So I think that he's in the right hands.
I agree with Tony. His stories are really quite intriguing to listen to. I think we have to cut them short sometimes because otherwise we'd be there for like 2 hours in our meetings. And it's been really fun to work with him, to put a nice fresh face for his website. And it's really been a great experience working with you guys. Thank you.
I want to add one more thing about Badnarik, and that's that he is a man of action. And that's one of the main reasons that I'm happy to be working on his site and getting his material out there. It's because there's not a lot of people with his goal or his confidence and his backbone. And I think that more than ever, that's what's needed in the world, is for people who have convictions.
Yeah. And he's quick to respond to emails, right? That makes it an easy project to work with too, right?
Definitely.
Well, the kind of challenge that he threw at us this last week was he wants to add a recipe book to his website. So as marketers, we are wanting to showcase his presidential nominee, his Constitution work and scholarship that he provides, mentoring that he's going to be providing, and then spaghetti recipes. So we have our hands.
I am interested in the spaghetti recipe. He said it's from his mom, and it's a famous one. I'd love to try it.
I need to compare this to my mother's spaghetti recipe now, because that one is pretty famous to me.
All right. Well, obviously, from just the buzz that it's creating here, it's something that we need to showcase on the website. Well, moving along, Chris released one of his recent interviews with Kevin Cole. I got a short little clip from that, and we'll see if Chris hops on at some point to be able to discuss this.
In all of these areas. We could all just sit and watch, the big three, CNN, Fox, and MSNBC, and watch them furrow their brow for a long time and try to get you to mimic their outrage on whatever topic it is politically and steer you, into different categories of political thought. But the only way that you're going to ever have any real progress and any firsthand knowledge of this is to actually study it yourself and to commune with people like yourself and people like Richard Grove and others that are collating this in a very big way, that are taking large, massive amounts of data and cross-referencing it in order to provide a bigger picture of the reality we live in.
That kind of segues into what you said about teaching oneself. Makes me think of the Trivium, and one of your more famous presentations is the classical Trivium versus the more modern Trivium. Your main argument was the classical Trivium was actually used to control the masses, whereas the modern Trivium is can be very useful tool, a methodology of critical thinking and research. Did I sum that up in a nutshell? Correct me if I'm wrong one way or the other.
No, pretty much. That presentation was given on the heels of a great deal of collating of information that I put together. It wasn't as much for me about a versus, classical trivium versus the trivium, as for me it was that there were some extraordinary claims being made about a lost tool, a hidden lost tool in history. And I wanted to be able to either substantiate that or to not be able to substantiate that, see where it goes. And I think that it would require a much larger conversation. I'm happy to get into it, but yeah, the classical liberal education and classical trivium and quadrivium are cultural creation tools. They're tools of artificial scarcity, management of knowledge, and disbursement of knowledge in a way that creates cyclical or circular polities. That's the best way that I can say it.
As you can tell, that interview is just jam-packed full of powerful knowledge. I really appreciate Chris and his ability to just put himself out there and ask others for an interview. And he learned this ability in season 1, and he's just been on fire since. It's great to get these inside looks at these figures of our community that you get to hear personal aspects of their stories. That's what I really like the most. Anybody else catch this interview this week?
Not yet,
This is,
but I want to.
yeah, this is the first time I've seen it. Same.
But it looks great. It's Kevin Cole, and he always packs it full of information.
Right. And checking out. I agree. And I look forward to listening to it a second time. Moving forward, I'm going to hop over Rising Excellence, Agnieszka, and we can talk about that when we talk about achievements. So really, we're moving on to last night's graduation.
I didn't make it to the whole thing. I'm sorry. I fell asleep during the last couple hours.
Me too.
My power went out.
It was powerful, though. I loved it. It's kind of a reminder of why we're here. And I thought that's why it was so important.
I love Richard's story about how these randomly or these seemingly random events took him on a path to where he is today. That was wonderful.
Right. And I thought it was odd at first why he did this at the very end, where he did basically an about Richard and the story of Richard Grove at the end of the course. But I understand now how he just didn't want to distract people with his personal story, because his story is radical. He achieved so much. He achieved so much in such a short amount of time, and really understood success until he was bumping up into areas on his map that that weren't put on his terrain from the traditional school or corporate careers.
And I think that's indicative of the process that we all go through and how we all got here. It's all incrementally we come up against those boundaries, or we come across something that's past the boundary, and we either have curiosity and want to learn more about it, or we ignore it and go back to our regular lives. And I think all the people who end up in autonomy, they're the former group who had that curiosity and want to know, what is this thing, and just how can I better come to understand the reality that I'm in? Because once you come across a few pieces that are outside of your territory, then you realize that's the self-knowledge. That's where you start to realize that you don't have the knowledge that you previously thought you did.
Yeah, and honestly, that really shows up in all areas of the society that we're living in, because we're in a system with predators that are controlling the system quite quite nicely to their liking.
That would probably be an interesting experiment in maybe future iterations of the course would be to have students kind of retrace their steps as to how they got to where they are. Because, like Anthony said, is we've all got this kind of unique story about how we started, in our little cocoons, and how we had that first little thing that opened us up and kind of blossomed and brought us to where we are. And it would just be interesting, I think, to learn a little bit more about how that happened for each of us.
Absolutely.
And I think that would actually tie into meta learning how you learn. So I thought that was a part of the point of last night's lecture, is Rich was retracing his steps, but he was also touching upon meta learning, and that's learning how you learn. And I think that, retracing those steps, that gives you the self-knowledge to do that, to figure out how you best operate and your best methods of learning.
Right. Go for it.
Can I make one suggestion? If you're doing meta learning, write it down. Oh my gosh. I'll go to learn something new, like I did with the bios, and I'll get through it and I'm like, oh great, this looks great, this works, oh it's beautiful, and then I'll have to remember everything that I did. And so just that process of writing down each step of the way and how I created it, I have a nice template there. So yeah, write it down, have a template. It works.
Excellent advice. I recently threw that at Tony because we're setting up systems for Autonomy Unlimited. And so these steps that we're already taking with our projects are something that can be turned into a template. So we don't need to go through each step every time, but we can just click one button in our project management system and blow up that project all over again, instead of spending our resources trying to retrace each step it takes to do something.
And of course, that's modular too. So there's different mini projects that you can all plug in together to create your project, your main project, because there's so many different things you can do starting a website or getting someone's marketing up and running. Every project isn't going to be the same. So that's why it's good to split it up into optional modules that you can chain together.
Nice.
Yeah, and also every
nice
customer has a different genius, so you don't want to be offering them the stuff that they're already good at. So modulating it so that everybody gets what they need is a really good idea.
Well, everyone, are you investing your time in ways that are meaningful to you? Let's talk about our accomplishments this last season. We have a mixture of season 1 and season 2 students on the call. Let's start off with Hunter. Hunter, this is your first run through of Autonomy. What's changed for you since joining, and where you're at now?
I love this question. I think these past couple months I've been doing just a ton of reflection of where I am now, like who I was before this course. And it's crazy that I've only been in this course for like a few months, because to me it feels like I've been here for like a long time. So that's what's so great about like reflecting back, is I'm able to like break apart like kind of my journey and where I've gone. I think when I first came into the course, I remember telling Rich when I first spoke with him, like, yeah, like I'm probably just right on the cusp of like getting to where like I want to be, or like I'm like right there on the edge. And then once I started delving in and doing exercises and like actually reflecting and trying to think about what do I want from this course and like my direction and my life, it's kind of shocking like how different I realized like the course I really had in front of me. So
did you realize you had a lot more rings of a ladder above you?
I did. There are many rings for me to still climb. and that was that shook me a little bit. I'd say around November. On top of just you know, the season that November and December bring, a lot of like planning for holidays, etc. So I felt kind of overwhelmed around that time, like the past couple months, and I was kind of beating myself up. But the realization that I've had, I'd say the past couple weeks, is kind of in tandem with something Rich said at the beginning of last night's lecture. Like, I don't need to be so hard on myself. Like, just because I didn't do like a few weeks like exercises or I missed a lecture. If I really stop and think about where I am now, I think I'm in a lot better place than I was like 4 months ago. 4 months ago, I had to quit my job because I felt like I was drowning, and I was shocked because the job that I had gotten, it was a new job. I'd only been there for a year, but it was totally not what I was expecting. And so I was kind of freaking out about what am I going to do, kind of back in the same boat where I was like 3 years ago in college. And even now, I'm not totally sure my trajectory, like totally not sure exactly what I want to do, but I have a lot of ideas, and I'm actually like taking steps towards them. I'm doing a lot of good reading about areas that like I might want to do professionally, and doing some good exercises in terms of that. So like mentally I'm feeling good, and emotionally, like I'd say in almost all aspects, I feel a lot better now than I was 4 months ago. So pretty.
That's really great to hear, Hunter. Seems like overwhelm is kind of a rite of passage for autonomy. Like it happens to everybody, and it's good. Like you need to observe yourself getting hit with it with support, right? With some guidance and support. Then you can realize what's going on and figure out a method to go through to make your way through it. Tell me a little bit about like how has the structure of your day or how has the structure of your day changed now that you have some methods at your hands?
So I think before I was somewhat aware of how I was spending my time, and I knew that like I should be managing my time better, but I didn't exactly know how. Like I thought, maybe I'll just like organize my hobbies more or something along those lines. In tandem with this course, I've been reading stuff like David Allen's Getting Things Done, like some good supplemental reading material. And that's helped me realize, like on top of maybe like books like Robert Kiyosaki's works, it's helped me realize, okay, there are actually like steps that I can take towards, I don't know, like maybe one day having my own business or something. So there's like little things I can practice, like they unlock stuff on top of realizing like the time that I'm spending, like probably a lot of it is spent doing kind of wasteful stuff. Like I probably watch too much video. So I'd say like a huge accomplishment that I did a few weeks ago, I think it was about a month ago, is I took all my video game consoles that were in my living room, just put them away. And it's such a like small thing. It doesn't sound like anything, like putting your toys away, but I think just having them out there in the living room, like ready to access, it was just like the first thing I would go to when I had free time. And I realized like I've been writing more. I've just been doing things that I've said I wanted to do, but haven't been doing like way more often now that that distraction's out of the way. So I'd say that's probably the biggest thing. It's a small thing, but it's going to affect me big time.
That's huge, Hunter. And really, I can really share that sentiment of trying to consciously structure your day for like maximum output. And I can share the like watching too much video, the YouTube feed is kind of my go-to when I'm running around. I am multitasking, but I want more. I want to add more depth and substance to what I'm doing instead of just skimming the surface of like what's the current what the current news feed's throwing at me. And just making these small little adjustments in our lifestyle can have drastic effects like that. So I'm really, really proud to hear about your decision with the video game consoles. And it's a small thing, but it has huge results.
Yeah, thanks.
My wife like hates video games, and I had put in thousands of hours in my youth playing Nintendo, and so showing my age. Because of her attitude, I was like, all right, like I understand. I've played a lot, so I put it aside, and so I really like have played no video games in the last say 7 or 8 years, and instead added substance to my life, and it's made a huge difference in my acquiring productivity and skills and self-growth. But I will say I'm looking forward to playing video games with my daughter when she comes of age, because I'll be in a different position and be able to just relax a little bit with her. But again, it's same with Netflix, video games, this kind of shallow substances that we fill our time with in order to deal with the overwhelm of not having the skills to handle what life's throwing at us. It just turns into a loop of keeping you stuck there.
Yeah.
I think it's like you lived out your fantasies through these things. So instead of being a hero in real life, you're just being a hero in a virtual reality.
Exactly.
That's why they're so attractive. That's why it's good at what it does. That's right.
I know it is. But I think a big part of overcoming that is, I think Hunter has a good solution. I read that in Atomic Habits. Put away your stuff, like make it harder to get to, because that will create like a new obstacle. So like it makes you think about it a lot more before you do it. So like log out of your social media accounts. I've heard like people change their password. I think maybe that was you, Joshua. Change your password to your Facebook or something every week, or maybe that was someone else. But anyways, like there's methods you can use to cut out those distractions, those activities that just drain away your energy instead of build yourself up into that hero that you actually want to be. So yeah, great job, Hunter. I'm happy to hear that you're taking those steps, because it's hard to overcome those things for a lot of people.
And one more thing I wanted to point out of what you said, Hunter, was you now, as you said, you now like can see more clearly the steps it would take in order to become a business owner, and giving yourself permission to do so. Because without that, you'll never start walking down that path. If you think it's unattainable, or it's just something that successful people have or can do, you never even try. So that's a massive component, just to come to that realization. If that's all you get out of your first season, you started your journey.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on and sharing your story. I'm really excited to see you in the next season, and
me too.
And that's when things really start going for you.
And we're definitely looking forward to seeing whatever project you come up with. Something like whatever your focus is, we're looking forward to that product.
I got some stuff in the works. The first one will be February 1st at the latest. So
sweet. Cool. If you start designing video games, you get to play them, and it's justified.
Yeah.
Well, let's switch over to a season 2 veteran, Jim, or a season 1 veteran, Jim. what have you accomplished in your personal and in your professional life this last year?
Oh man, it's been amazing. Every year, my wife and I, at this time, we kind of reflect on what we take a good amount of time and reflect upon the past year and what we've done, what type of media or books we've consumed, and the effect that it's had on our lives. And as we were having that conversation this week, it's like, well, what was the thing that you were most grateful for this year? It came in like autonomy. and as I was reflecting upon it, it's just like, I can't imagine a more amazing opportunity than what has been created here. Reflecting on my year, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to hang out with Richard Grove and Brett Venat and Lisa and all these people who have been like minor celebrities in my life for years, listening to their podcasts. They're now friends and colleagues and co-conspirators in my plans in my life, which is really cool. And thinking about all of the things that have happened as a result of that. I mean, so Beth and I just closed on our first investment property on the mainland on Monday, because I went to Red Pill in June and I read Robert Kiyosaki's Fake Book on the way there and got to talk to him while we were there. And it's just like, wow, what, all of the things that have happened as a result of participating and having everyone's influence in my life, and feedback and whatnot. I've been the last few weeks, I've been watching things come out as to what everyone is doing and accomplishing. It's kind of funny because this time of year, I actually go into a bit of a cocoon around the holidays. Things slow way down. I focus more on staying home, being with family. I'm like, wow, they're still doing lectures. They're still doing Q&As. They're still doing the podcast on Saturday. Good for you guys. I'll be back with you after January 1st. And so here I am. But probably the biggest thing that happened was getting to be on School Sucks podcast just a few weeks ago, interviewing with Brett. It was absolutely amazing. Something I've been listening to the show for years. I never quite imagined that I'd actually not only be a guest, but be someone that he would ask to come on regularly to contribute my knowledge to this topic that he and I both have this great passion about. And it's kind of funny. As I was preparing for it, I don't think anyone, maybe Richard, and I know Daniel has been on School Sucks a couple times, and that was my gauge is, can I sound half as intelligent as Daniel McCarthy when I'm on School Sucks podcast? I'm not sure that I pulled it off. I see, Daniel, I think of you as much more of a philosopher. I'm more of a coach, trying to pull information out of people. You're really good at sharing some of the amazing things that go on in your head. But yeah, it was a fantastic experience. Brett really threw me a curveball. He and I had made a little plan for what we were going to do on the show, and we interviewed on a Tuesday morning. And like a half an hour before we were supposed to get on the line, he sent me a text and said, "Okay, this is what we're going to talk about now." I'm like, okay. So I've got half an hour to kind of shift gears. I mean, luckily it was the first episode, and so half of it was just like getting to know me and my story, and the other half was primarily the points in the lead magnet on my website, which is cool. But still, like, okay, shifting gears now.
That's really good to hear. You've had some amazing growth. I know just from helping out on your Test Drive Your Future. And I can totally share the sentiment about are these semi celebrities are now our co-conspirators and colleagues. It's really a dream come true for, I'm sure, a lot of us. And congratulations on your first home investment. Can you tell us a little bit more about that process?
It's something that we've been thinking about for a long time. And we actually, in thinking of ways to invest in ourselves, my wife invested in a course. It's kind of like the autonomy of like wealth creation. It's called Wealth Academy. And essentially when you sign up, you get access to a whole online course with a whole set of videos. But then they have a whole team of experts. They have lawyers, they have accountants, they have real estate people. And once you're in the club, it's like they lead you through this process where it's like, okay, well, now you're going to talk to an accountant who's going to tell you how you should manage your money to best position yourself so you can start investing in real estate. Then you get to talk to the lawyer and decide, okay, so if you're going to create a business out of this, what would be the best way to structure that? And then you get to talk to the real estate expert that talks about what is the best type of investment for you to proceed through. And so my wife signed up for this back in October, and she just kind of went through the process. And it's really amazing because you basically have unlimited access to all of these experts. And within the first, when Beth signs up for something, she really dives in. And, within a month, she had worked with these people, and they'd made what they called our income replacement plan. And so essentially it's like how you could invest in real estate over a period of 10 to 20 years and basically retire with the same income that you enjoy now or more, adjusted for, the predatory inflation we're all dealing with. And so we took that first step on our journey starting in November. And so here we are. We invested in our first property in Orlando, Florida. I think our plan has us investing in 10 or 15 properties over the next 20 years. And basically we just have to follow the steps. They teach you how to manage everything, how to deal with all the finances, deal with all the taxes, so that everything is as advantageous to you as possible. And a lot of it is very much in line with what Robert Kiyosaki teaches. So I am so excited about being able to do that because I wouldn't have had any idea how to go about it before. And as much as I love Robert, some of his Rich Dad courses are like shockingly expensive. And so the Wealth Academy was really a great value in comparison, especially considering the fact that you basically get unlimited access to these experts forever once you're in.
Wow, that's really awesome to hear because you're right. Like Robert Kiyosaki puts this on our map so that we become aware of this a way to create income for yourself, and the difference between the different types of income where there's expenses and there's, oh man, I'm drawing a blank.
It's all good. I'm hoping to be able to share maybe coming up this spring. So Beth and I are just we're in the grammar phase of all of this, and I literally have read. I wanted to participate in autonomy more in December as things slow down for me a bit, but I was so jazzed about what I was doing. I actually read 4 books on real estate investing and wealth creation this year, and we're actually in the process of learning about this special type of life insurance, which basically allows you. The last book that I read is called "Become Your Own Banker," and it's this absolutely fascinating process about how you can build up your wealth to a point where you wouldn't be relying on the corrupt monetary system quite as much as what we have to, and you really learn ways to become the captain of your own ship. And this particular type of life insurance they have you invest in, they're like, not very many people know about it, but they said that I think it was like 75 or 80% of corporate CEOs and Congress people use this type of life insurance product to manage their own finances. And they're like, so they've created this amazing way for you to avoid taxes legally and to be able to build wealth. And because these powerful people have put this infrastructure in place for themselves, the chances of it actually going away is very low, because they kind of built their own escape hatch out of this monetary trap that they've built for the rest of us. And it's been absolutely fascinating to learn that this whole process exists. And I'm like, I can't wait until I learn enough about this to share it with the rest of the Autonomy crew, because if there's anybody in the world who needs to be able to free ourselves from this financial bondage that our population is in, it's us, because we are these people who want to be these shining lights that help lead others out of this darkness that's been kind of imposed upon us. And it seems like such an amazing system. I can't wait to learn enough so that I can then bring it to you guys and see if we can raise everyone up.
That's great, Jim. Yeah, sounds like we're going to have to create a new section inside of the community just for this topic.
Oh man, yeah, I'm just at the beginning of my journey, but the pace at which we're accumulating knowledge, I would imagine that we'll probably be able to put together a presentation in the next few months, at least enough to start whetting people's appetite.
Awesome. Well, really looking forward to that. And Jim, you're now a part of. We brought Test Drive Your Future into the Autonomy Unlimited projects section. So now you're going to have a whole new set of eyes and resources on your project. I'm excited to start putting to use as well.
Yeah, I really am looking forward to that. I kind of put Test Drive Your Future, except for being on the podcast, I kind of took my foot off the gas for a few weeks during the holidays. But the neat thing is in spite of having done that, we've been working on Facebook advertising now for months. And that was awesome because every day you could see the leads come in, but there was money going out to bring those leads in, and having invested that time with Brett. I mean, we were on a Zoom call for an hour, and he put the podcast up, and it's been almost a month since we did that. And I see leads coming in every day now, and we're not doing any advertising now. I'm not doing any blogging or anything else, and so I know that those leads are coming from people who are still just now downloading the podcast and hearing it. And so it's so exciting to know that there's another source of traffic out in the world. I mean, I've known that for years. I'm like, oh, I wish I were as smart as Richard and Brett, and you put this archive of knowledge out into the world, and then people just stumble upon it and they find you. And now it's finally like, oh yeah, that would be an excellent way to invest my time. Mm-hmm. is to create things like that will generate that traffic apart from paying people to come to your lead magnet and whatnot.
Yeah, and you really want a wide variety of avenues for your traffic, because I mean any of them can dry up at any time. So diversifying yourself is really the way to go. And I'm really happy that Brett and you connected, because it's you have an important message and important resources for people, and we just got to connect those to those that need it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting into some more podcast interviews. I was telling Joshua earlier this week that I've privately created in my mind what I call the road to Rogan, which is the second rated podcast on iTunes. I'm like, it will probably never happen, but it's like something to shoot for. It's like, let's see how many podcasts I can get myself on in the next year and get myself to the point where I can speak off the top of my mind. It's like automatic, where I can just share my message of Test Drive Your Future, right off the top of my mind, automatically, very coherently, in a way that is exciting and compelling, and just get myself to the point where I would be able to talk to anybody about it at any time, and hopefully be able to just reach larger and larger audiences, and see what I could make happen.
Well, that's awesome. Well, you know where to practice for that.
Yeah, it's why I got up at 4:30 this morning to talk with everyone here.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jim. Thanks for getting up, and I hope you hang on to the call.
You bet.
Let's switch it over. Amanda Price isn't able to jump in right now, but she said, if I could say this on her behalf, is that she really experienced a transformation of mindset from that of scarcity with regards of waiting for others to make me a job offer. She saw herself at the behest of others for her livelihood, to a mindset where she's confident and excited to to create and make offers designed around a true mutual exchange of value. This shift has been incredibly empowering for me, and the cherry on top of the acquisition of very practical skills that will accelerate my ability to get out there and make the offers I wish to. That's great to hear. Amanda came in this last season, and she immediately started offering some really great value to the community, and my life was very much enriched just by having her a part of Autonomy. So it's great to hear that she got just as much back as she was putting in. Well, let's hear from another season 1 graduate, Joshua Hogarth. How was your first season of Autonomy, and what was your favorite part of the course?
Hey, Josh. It's been a great journey, and it's still going. Last night's podcast was great, and it was interesting to watch Rich bring it all full circle. So like you said, it was strange that he didn't start the whole course with, his story, but it made sense once you wrapped it up. And you obviously see the value of, okay, so we're all networking right now. And so that was his story of networking and how he went from one thing to the next thing to the next and networking with the right people. And so this has been great, obviously, for that, that I didn't really quite see in the beginning. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun and challenging at times. And I think it was, my perspective was unique because, I didn't quite know about season 1 when that came. And when that ship sailed, I felt like I missed the boat. I felt like I was, 5 years late for the prom. And my cousin actually was in touch with Rich and Lisa, and we ended up going to Red Pill. And so we were out there and we got to meet you guys, and, you got to ride in our car and got to meet you and Michael Badnarik, and that was pretty exciting. And so I felt like, man, what did I miss? I missed this thing. So yeah, it's been really great. And I've been feeling stuck for a really long time. And last night or this morning at 3, I think one of the other students, Tim, he's like in week 4. He came in late, but he was talking about how, I just feel like I need to get things going. I'm so stuck. And I knew how he felt when I was there, and, learning to just keep showing up. And, eventually, and he's ahead of me. I mean, he turned his mic on and his camera on much faster than I did. And so that was a big learning curve for me to start doing that. But I think the biggest thing for me was having a voice. All you fine people were willing to listen to me. Most people are listening to me. And I had to learn, like, I'm looking at myself on the camera, and I've had to learn how to tone it down. And I can be quite animated. And, because of my hearing loss, I think that I've had to work much harder at communicating and communication skills, which I never really paid close attention to until this course kind of brought that to light for me. So that's been beneficial, much to learn, much to grow from that. I upgraded to a microphone on my headset. That was cool. I wouldn't have done that, so, and not holding my cell phone here, watching you guys.
Yeah, you sound and look good. At what point did you experience your rite of passage and experience overwhelm?
Can you say that again? Sorry.
At what point did you experience overwhelm?
I think, in the first couple of weeks, before I started season 2, I was plowing through season 1 stuff. So I was like, I'm way ahead. I know what I'm doing. And then season 2 kicks in, and I'm like, whoa, I'm behind. What's going on? What happened? I was ahead. And so I was overwhelmed at that point, I think. And I'm like, I need to get on here and talk to somebody. And then it seemed like I was struggling getting on, I guess I was having a hard time clicking unmute. I didn't know how to do that. But once that, first unmute and having the dialogue, my tension and overwhelmness started to abate a little bit, and having conversations with Rich really kind of like, it's interesting because so my dad, I lost him about 5 years ago now, still feels like yesterday. And he knew how to talk to me to calm me down. And I kind of lost that up until, I met, me and my cousin. And my cousin, Darren, he hasn't been here since we started this, but he had helped me to take this journey. I wouldn't have been able to do it without his help. And I was hoping to have done this with him. And so there was a little bit of overwhelm, like he wasn't here and I'm doing this on my own now. But he also knew how to talk to me and to calm me down, and him not being here has really helped me to learn how to be cool, calm, and collected on my own. I still have a long way to go, but to be able to it'll be okay. And to think through logically and, take a deep breath and obviously meeting all you fine people. I'm like, oh, there's more people than just my cousin and my dad that I can talk to. Now, I probably couldn't have talked to my dad about a lot of the stuff that we've talked about in this community of Tragedy and Hope, but still. So yeah.
Learning some communication skills, great.
Yeah.
What advice would you offer future students that are kind of on the fence or not sure about joining?
My advice would be, well, it all comes back to what the why is. So it's really up to them. So if somebody is in a position where they're ready to make a move, like they're on rock bottom or they're stuck or, they want to take, bigger strides in their life, I mean, this is a great class, no matter what level you're in, as I've seen and observed. So I would just say, well, what is your why? Why would you want to take something like this? Everything that we talked about. So it's important to know your why, because then, the money and none of the other obstacles are going to get in the way. So, what is your why? And, if they can pinpoint it and bring it forward, then we'll be able to handle that objection and they'll get themselves enrolled. So.
Thanks, Josh. Well, it's
Yeah.
really great to have you part of the community.
Sorry, I just wanted to add something to Josh really quick. So you had all of these concerns about unmuting and is your contribution going to be valuable because of your self-professed communication skills. But in my observation, every time you unmute, you have a valuable thing to add. Even when you were in the book club and you didn't read the book, when you unmuted, it was valuable and it was worthy, and absolutely the whole thing, I'm not a good communicator, is an illusion that you're practicing, because it's not reality that I see.
Agnieszka, hi. Yeah, that was very, very nice of you to say. I appreciate those kind words. And that's what I've been learning, right? So I think the last book club with Daniel and the gang, it was like, yeah, I haven't really read the Odyssey, but we had a great discussion and had different perspectives. So well put, Agnieszka. I appreciate that. Thanks. Yeah. That was the other thing I learned. I think I jotted that down about listening to other people is inspiring. So hearing other people's stories, struggles, etc., unlocks other ideas and thoughts, and it's an interesting thing. Like, what does the Bible say? When two or more people come together in my name, amazing things happen. But really, I think that Darren, my cousin and Darren had talked about that. Like, every time we got together and we talked about these ideas and our thoughts, it just, kind of springboarded into other ideas and thoughts and had amazing conversations. We're like, all right, where are other people like us? And then here we are. So great point.
Right. And Agnieszka, thanks so much for pointing that out. And now I'm going to put the hot seat on you. Agnieszka, what did you learn in season 2 that you didn't realize in season 1?
In season 1, I was overly focused on consumption. Even though I was, I had some stuff down, I still could use a lot of help. There's always an uppercut, like a deeper cut. Like, okay, so I'm doing this well, but I could do it better. Or I'm doing this, but I could be doing something that's one level up, battling the next boss. So that was in season 1. I did a lot of consumption and I did not do a lot of production. In season 2, I was able to overcome my fears, my limitations, and my stuckedness, and actually take my business to the next level. Sometime after the graduation, I realized that what I'm doing now is not what I want to be doing for the rest of my life, and to really like take it to the next level. So that's what we're doing with Raising Excellence.
Excellent. And tell me a little bit about Raising Excellence. This is a project that really sprouted from this last season, right?
It's a project that was in my mind a long time, and maybe not in this iteration, but sometime during the summer, I realized that there were a few of us in the group who were all essentially striving to achieve the same goal. And so I stepped up to the leadership and I brought all the people together and I started working with them to come up with the same goal as we each were trying to be working on our own. And so now all 6 of us are stepping up. And we still have a long way to go. I mean, there are still things that we would like to improve with the podcast. There are still things that it's been a couple weeks, but it's not a big deal because we are still working it through. And eventually, sometime this year, this podcast will be perfect and will be exactly the way we want it. So, but my mother loves the podcasts, so there's that.
There you go. You know you're onto something then.
And actually, this last week, the Raising Excellence podcast was focused on looking back at the past year. So Monday was looking back. We did some exercises on how to look back at your past year. Wednesday was future. So we were talking about journaling and planning for the future. And then Thursday, we had a podcast focused on how you can harness the power of the present moment, where everybody shares their tips on harnessing the present moment. So in that, the structure is working now. So we're working it out. It's good.
Well, that sounds really valuable. How would you define a culture of excellence?
A culture of excellence is not something that is achieved. It's something that is seeked or reached towards. Because excellence is one of those things that it can easily be, so no, I'm never going to achieve it, so I might as well not try. But the whole point is not to actually achieve it. The whole point is to reach towards it so that you can bring more excellence into your day-to-day and bring more excellence into all your interactions with others. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, thanks for sharing that. Well, it's great to have you part of the community, and I really love working side by side with you. We now have Autonomy Unlimited, so I hope to be working even more closely with you.
Nice. Sounds good.
Well, let's switch over to another Rising Excellence member. Michael, you're new this last season. Tell me a little bit about your experience and what was your favorite aspect of Autonomy so far?
Man, I have so many things I could say in that regard. You know, I am so thrilled to be a part of this group, and you know, every day I'm just, you know, I am happily surprised as I get to know more and more of the group of people here, and you know, what they're capable of. So you know, every day, I mean, I think Agnieszka just this Tuesday, you know, essentially volunteered to help me and, you know, really enlighten me about a lot of things that, you know, that I need. And, you know, just kind of gave me a study guide of what I need to look into to improve myself and improve my understanding of, you know, of something specific to, you know, what I'm trying to pursue. But, you know, for me, I would say the overall thing is just the level of confidence that I have in the future has been, you know, tremendously improved in the past 2 months, just by getting to know the people here and the capabilities that we have and the potential that we have. The potential is so great for this group. I mean, we could really lead the way into a different, you know, a different civilization as far as I'm concerned. And the things that we're embracing are things that really have been absent from, the current society's mindset. And what we're embracing here is the answer to that. So I'm just absolutely thrilled.
Well, sweet. Well, tell me a little bit about how your like productivity or your time management or just the way that you structured your lifestyle has changed so far with being a part of Autonomy.
Well, I mean, I've got my own kind of pursuit in regard to my idea of ethical emergence in a course that I kind of give to people. But I would say that even understanding a lot of this information, a lot of the stuff that's kind of congruent with autonomy, it is the practice, the daily practice, and the the reminders of how important this stuff is from a lot of different people. And certainly what Richard has spent many years, as he's pointed out to us very clearly through these long lectures, that I think is rather daunting for a lot of people to consider spending 5, 6, 7 hours on a particular subject, having discussion and being immersed in that kind of stuff. I mean, that's definitely a different approach that I would have never considered before coming to Autonomy, but I think it is incredibly valuable. And so what Richard is bringing is something that is rather unique in that, he's really pushing us to immerse ourselves. And for a lot of people, that is a hell of a commitment to make, to spend 5, 6, 7 hours on a Friday night on a particular topic, and then then the additional amount of time that this course requires. But it is incredibly important because that immersion does take it to a whole nother level that in my case I just wasn't aware of how important that is. But it is also an important piece of really changing our lifestyle and our mindset.
Yeah, I agree. What was your relationship with sales and what is it now before you started? What was your relationship before Autonomy?
Another great question. Yeah, sales was always something to me that was kind of deceptive, in nature, and something I really didn't like. I did spend a lot of time trying to understand sales and marketing in a way that I thought was appropriate to the business world the way that I conducted myself. And for the most part, my interactions with the professionals in my industry in construction and project management was one in which we'll tell them whatever they want to hear, just as long as they sign on the bottom line. And to me, that was just the absolute wrong approach. And up until listening to what Richard put across, that wasn't the way that I perceived it. And luckily for me, it is very, it's in parallel with the way that I approach my particular profession, of project management. I always wanted to do the things, to be sincere, to be encouraging, to be able to listen and learn and love the people that I'm doing the job with, as well as the project and the mission that we're after. And that's what selling is to Richard, and that's an entirely different perspective that brings about value. And honestly, I think this is something that we all have to practice. We all have to practice selling the value that we bring, to each other, because that's really how we understand as a group and as a community how we can leverage, the value that each person brings. We've got to verbalize who we are what we do, what our qualities are, and that's what Richard is telling us to do. And so practicing that, it's so exciting, because it is something in which, like with Autonomy Unlimited, it is unlimited, man. We're really gonna blow it out.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited to see where your trajectory is heading, Michael, and I'm really thankful for you being a part of the community.
Yeah, well, much appreciated, Joshua. I'm really thrilled to be a part of the community here as well, man. And you're leading the way with Autonomy Unlimited, and I'm just going to follow your lead.
Yep, I just posted this. The path is easier to walk after the trailblazers. So by all of us trailblazing in our own way, there's lots of different avenues for us to be able to easily follow in the footsteps. Tony, what have you accomplished this last season?
A myriad of things. I would say the main thing that I want to highlight about the changes I've went through since starting Autonomy is moving from ideas into action, and just from procrastination into action, because that's always been one of my major obstacles, is too many options, or too many doubts, too many fears, just keeping me from doing anything in the first place. And that was actually something I heard in the lecture last night, is, have you tried just doing whatever it is you're thinking about? Because that's a great way to just move past that, whatever it is that's holding you back, that block. Generally, it's not going to be as bad as you think it is. And if you just take the action, you find yourself getting immersed in that new way of living. Instead of just being stuck in your passive state, you gain momentum by taking those actions, and you eventually that's your new lifestyle. Eventually, that way of living overtakes your old passive lifestyle. So that has been the main change that I've seen in myself over the past year, is moving from that passive state to the active state. And that's always something I've been interested in, especially because of the trivium. It's like, how do I go from grammar, logic to rhetoric, the action stage? And because I guess I've always just thought that I couldn't do it well enough. And so, these lectures, at first it was, I didn't know what to do with my time. I didn't know how to take action yet. But things really took shape towards the end of season 1, and I started taking action regularly, and now that's pretty much my normal state. So I would recommend, anyone coming into the course who deals with those problems, like video games, like what Hunter was dealing with. It might be a good idea to read a book, Atomic Habits. I thought that was a really great one, because it goes over the process of how you can get to that, how you can actually make the good habits. Because sometimes you have to change your environment to compel yourself to do the things that you actually want to do, but you're afraid to do. So definitely new people coming into the course, supplemental material that I would recommend is that Atomic Habits book. I thought it was phenomenal. And just do that thing that's on your mind. Using that momentum that I gained from just taking action and learning what I have always wanted to learn, I've started to build my skills up, and I'm starting to build my business. There was many failures along the way, by the way. In season 1, I started, I think, maybe 5 different websites, trying to pinpoint exactly what it is that I wanted to do. But I think jumping into the action mindset helped me get those failures out of the way. Because I think if I hadn't taken action and I had just kept thinking about it, I would have delayed my first failure, because I'm sure that if I had just waited and thought about it for 6 months and then took action, I still would have had those same failures because I never would have explored those options in life. Because the process of learning, it's a process of exploration and adventure. Finding what you want to do in life, that's not something you sit and contemplate really. It's something that requires action and doing things, because you might have an idea of what you want to do, but until you go out and actually try it, you never really know. And that's why I think that anyone coming into the course who doesn't know what they want to do, just adopt that new mindset of exploration, having a good time exploring new subjects and learning new things and new skills. And eventually that will organically bring you to that point in time where you will know what you want to do. So that's what I have to offer.
Awesome, Tony. You actually answered all my questions I was going to throw at you all in one go. But tell me a little bit more about what did you create? What business did you finally settle on? And what do you have to offer now that this is coming to bloom?
Yeah, well, I always wanted to teach people and help people. So throughout season 1, I was contemplating becoming a coach and helping coach people along. I also have an interest in programming. So what ended up happening is I came up with the idea to merge coaching and my interest in programming together. And now I'll be offering an apprentice program for people who want to learn programming. And that will help them get in there and work on real-life projects to work on their skills. And eventually they could join my team and earn money. And so I'll be offering, on the other side of things, I'll be offering website design and development to other people in the course and outside the course. And eventually I'd like to expand my company into developing software for the internet that protects people's private information, and also hopefully makes the internet more resilient to censorship. So that's the far future for my company, but that's the company I've created and where I'd like to go with it.
Well, I've really enjoyed working with you. We talk just about every day now just because we have projects that we are both working on. And you're a valuable asset to Autonomy Unlimited, being able to offer hosting for websites and just general IT support. I'm coming to you almost every day now with asking for a little bit of help. So really happy for you to be a part of the team, and you really are have shown a tremendous amount of growth going from the beginning of season 1 to now, and I'm really excited to where you go next season.
Thank you, Joshua.
Deirdre, coming in from Australia. Deirdre, what growth have you experienced in the second season? And tell us a little bit about where you were in the first season of Autonomy.
I'll start off with my first season. Where was I at? I had no idea. I was just winging it. I was just, okay, this looks like fun. I'll give it a go. The season 1 journey was, I was still doing uni when I was doing season 1. So I did that the best I could. Just
What's
mainly
uni?
attending the lectures.
What's uni?
University, college.
Ah.
University. Sorry.
Gotcha.
That was kind of a different experience, learning that I have different skill sets that I could use. And then it's mainly the main growth I had was in season 2, and being a part of a podcast. That was amazing. I love it every day. Even though it's 3 days a week, it's so uplifting. And I love attending it. Yeah. I guess that's all I've got right now. Sorry, it's like 2 a.m. for me. So I'm not as peppy and articulate as all you awesome people are.
What about your illustrious writing career? You started that too.
Yeah, the copywriting. Yeah, I didn't think how much I enjoyed it, but I remember enjoying writing as a child, and then life kind of happened and it kind of died down, and just having that vibrancy light back up and that love of it, it's so beneficial. It's like knowing myself again.
What were some fears or concerns that you were wrestling with before joining Autonomy?
I'm like one of only like 2 other people from Australia in like a all American course. Yeah, that's fairly daunting. I sometimes get there's like communication barriers sometimes, just subtle ones. I feel like I have a very strong Australian accent. They're fears of mine. I don't really have too much fears related to videoing. I've done plenty of that with college. What other fears? Just those kind of simple ones, really. I've had to get over and move on. I still feel sad that I don't know how long it's going to take to meet any of you guys. Like, I could meet Colin. He's down here. He's down in Victoria. That'd be fine. That would be like a 2-day drive for me. But you guys, it's like a 2-day flight to go see you.
Yeah. Well, it can happen, and I've said this before. I could listen to your voice all day long. So, and I just
Thank you.
occasionally will need to ask what uni means.
We need to get an autonomy jet and fly out there.
There we go.
Yeah,
That
you
could be
guys can
real.
come and see me.
That could happen. Well, Deirdre, thanks. Go
Have
ahead.
you ever considered that we ask you what uni means every time just to hear you explain it again because your voice is so sexy?
Oh, that would. Okay, now you've just made my day. You've made my morning. Thank you. As she always does, isn't she lovely? She always knows what to say.
Well, thanks for
Yes.
coming unmuted, and it's really great to have you a part of the community. And I enjoy tremendously working with you, so I look forward to doing it more.
Me too. Thanks.
All right, Roland, are you able to come off mute? Roland, you're a recent student, is that correct? Did you just join recently? There we
Can you
go.
hear me?
Yeah. Roland, when did you join Autonomy?
Oh, only a matter of weeks ago.
Wow, is this your first time going live? I haven't noticed you in Q&A or anything.
I've been on one other thing.
Nice.
But I've been watching lots of Richard's videos and some of your videos, interviews and things like that.
Well, fantastic. Well, tell us how you learned about Autonomy and how has your first few weeks been?
I've done very little in my first few weeks, mainly because of the Christmas sort of madness that goes on. But what was the question? How
did you learn about Autonomy? And then, what's been your experience?
Well, I suppose my big awakening was having the time when I sort of semi-retired 4 years ago to start researching things for myself, and I came across Richard Grove, and I watched a lot of his stuff and everything like that. So I've been taking a lot of red pills and trying to be enthusiastic about communicating this to other people. Of course, some want to know a little bit, and most people don't want to know at all. So I've kind of got over the loneliness of that, and I'm just trying to be a bit more kind of proactive. I'm an early years teacher by a musician, first of all, I should say, and an early years teacher. I'm very interested in education, and another big thing for me was to see the Ultimate History Lesson, John Taylor Gatto, and that really fired me up wonderful because my teaching methods were not dissimilar to his. I was known as Danger Man as an early years teacher sort of thing. You know, children have got to be able to take risks, and you can't take that away from them. And they're much safer taking risks at that age than they are at our age, sort of thing. You know. So yeah, I really enjoy education. So I'm very interested in the trivium.
Great.
And, yeah,
and Danger Man fits you because you've only been here a couple of weeks and you're already on the podcast.
Yes. Well, I guess that's being a teacher, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Roland, I'm really excited for you to be a part of the community, and I look forward to getting to know you more. What was one thing that you loved about teaching?
Now it would be kind of after, I mean, I still do teach. I still teach in a couple of nursery schools. They call me up if they need a supply teacher. What I'm so glad about is that all throughout my teaching career, there was that nag in the back of my mind. It's right, what I'm doing. Is this really what I should be doing? And now I found some answers for that. You know, I was doing it kind of wrong all along, sort of thing, but not entirely wrong.
Well, you were trying to do it right in a system that was designed to head in a different direction. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, really excited for you to be here. Thanks again for joining our podcast. And I look forward to seeing you in the next season. You're going to be ahead of the others.
Thanks. Do you know when the next season might start?
It will be probably in a matter of 6 to 8 weeks, I'm guessing. And then in the meantime, the continuing education will keep going on. We'll have a number of guest lecturers on in the upcoming weeks. And there's plenty to keep yourself busy with.
Yeah, great. Thanks very much.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah. And you all.
Daniel.
All right. Well,
hey, what overall, like, what have you learned in your experience with Autonomy, and what recent things are you really excited for with your trajectory?
Well, as far as what I've learned, I don't even know where I could begin with that. I mean, just the sheer volume of skills and just general information that's contained within both seasons, not to mention the conversations that go on in Discord outside of the lectures. I couldn't even begin to quantify it. But as far as what I've been up to as a result of Autonomy, I would say that the most prominent thing right now is I'm very, very, very close to being done with a final draft of that book project I've talked so much about. It's actually real, first of all, and it's very close to being done. So a little bit on that without getting into the whole project. I've been talking a lot with Deirdre lately. Well, not really lately. We had a little holiday vacation, of course, but for a few months now, I think we've been meeting up weekly and discussing the writing process, working it all out. And that's really helped me put my shoulder to the wheel and get everything sorted out and actually come up with a completed product. So toward the beginning of season 2, I was also going through Jim's Test Drive Your Future. I had gotten to a certain point where I realized as I was taking the course, like, the best thing that I could do right now, to give a little bit of information or background on it, Jim, your course is so immersive. It's like, I've seen courses online where it's like, answer these 5 questions and we'll sort your life out for you. Test Drive Your Future is absolutely the opposite of that. It's like this quiz, or these multitudes of quizzes will really help you get to know yourself. And so as I was filling out these these questionnaires and these, describe yourself questions and checking off little boxes. I was like, it occurred to me that what I need to do right now is prioritize all these projects that I've got going on and put everything aside and just focus on actually writing. So that was, I think, the initiative step where I put everything away and just started to write. The only other project that I've been pursuing in tandem with the book has been my monthly show with Brett on School Sucks, which is nice because it goes hand in hand with the book because they're both on the same topic. So I think that the book itself was the child of the first season of Autonomy. I started writing it then because of, well, it was Agnieszka's fault. That's the whole reason this whole thing started. It was, remember you did that thing in April, like write your book. You made a group that for people who had book projects that they had never started or started and didn't do. So that's what started the whole thing for me. And I stuck to it, and now I'm almost done with a very short book. So what that means is now, once I am actually done with that, which is very soon, it's so close I could taste it, I can really start getting more involved with the autonomy community and working on, what am I going to do with this book now? And I've got a plan that I'm not going to get into here. I think that I've got a fine group of people that I can talk to about it off the show, of course. But I've kind of got a business-ish model worked out in my head, which I'm really excited to implement and talk with people about. So all in all, I'd say it's been very productive. That's all the result of Autonomy. And then the one other thing that's also a result is the Great Books Club that myself and a few other of us are doing, which I really think is, we meet twice a month discussing the great books as we read them. And I really think that in a way, the meetings are integration exercises in action. We're practicing many of the same skills, albeit not explicitly. It's not like sales interviews per se, but we're definitely learning we're learning to be more acquainted with one another for one, but we're also learning how to parse out philosophical ideas more critically. So I think all in all, it improves communication, and it also helps you to question your own ideas, but also develop good arguments for your own ideas, but also to see through the arguments of others and be able to test them and weigh them. See, where do you agree? Where do you disagree? All surrounded or veiled in this air of respect, mutual respect. So everything's going pretty good, I'd say, overall.
Yeah, that's quite an accomplishment, and congratulations on your book. It's no small feat to be able to see what finish looks like and to reach it, right?
Indeed. It's just going to be a very short book, but even still, it takes a lot of time to put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, sometimes I kind of think that a book is maybe more difficult to write than a longer one because you're limited to only so much space. So you really have to be economic with your words. So
what can you offer future students about the competence and dedication of our teacher?
I would say, I know this is a very common thing, especially early on, but even for some people later on, this fear of unmuting and especially of getting on video. And I was thinking that, towards the beginning, when everybody's quiet, nobody really wants to say anything, I think that people kind of assume or have this internal monologue that says, when Rich says, somebody hop off mic, please don't leave me hanging, something like that, people have this thing in their head that says, oh, well, he doesn't mean me. He's not talking to me, like he means somebody else should unmute, not me. If you're thinking that, prospective season 3 or beyond student, if that's your thought process, you're the one he's talking to. He's talking to you. If you think that you shouldn't be on, then you should be. So that's my advice. If you're afraid to do it, then that's exactly what you need to do. You're not going to get hurt. So, you're not skydiving here. So just do it. What do you have to lose? No one's going to laugh at you. It's fine. It's all fine. and you'll be better for it in the end. I think you'll be grateful that you did it. So unmute. It's better to say more than to say nothing at all.
Very wise words. And really, it's about taking that first step in order to gain some momentum and see where you go.
Indeed. That's, you start talking and then you realize, good Lord, I actually did have something to say. Oh my God, that actually almost makes sense. And then you start to do it and you get better and better. But you got to start.
Exactly. Daniel, really appreciate having you part of the community and getting to know you. And you teach me something new every time we talk.
Well, thank you all very much. I appreciate the kind words and the community, the whole thing, the whole ball of wax. I love it.
Well, I guess I'm the last one on this call, and I just want to share a little bit of what meta experience I'm having, helping shape this course and kind of help and kind of being at the behind the scenes in the forefront of this. This is something that I wanted to do is to really make a change in the world. And looking back now, I can see how every skill I acquired and path I took really led to this point in this community. Hitting Richard up about a year and a half ago, as soon as I saw him wanting to put together a course and getting on his radar, someone again who was a celebrity in my life after listening to 1,000 hours of podcasts and him giving me value. I found a way to be able to provide value back to him, and it's been really enriching since. So to help see this course become materialized, I helped with the structure of that, but really the material is something I'm still very in awe from, of what Richard's put together in order to provide this value to the community. And again, from season 1 to season 2, being able to just really put things into motion. And now I have this momentum in my life where, every day something like big is being accomplished and moving forward on. And it really goes to show that the new Autonomy Unlimited marketing consulting company and being able to go in business with Richard and Lisa really shows just how putting one step in front of the other, you end up really creating some big changes. And I know this next year is going to be the biggest one yet. It's going to be full of success and challenges, but growth and being a part of a business that is connecting and offering avenues of growth to the whole community through apprenticeships and through freelance opportunities, and just the projects that I know we're going to be working on is just going to accelerate things even faster. So I have no clue where I'm going to be a year from now, but I do know that my whole life has been leading up to this moment and this path. So I'm very humbled and appreciative to this community that I'm a part of, because it really is the tide is rising and all the ships are raising, and we're learning how to sail. And I'm really excited for the different destinations that we all go to, because again, we're blazing trails, and it's much easier to walk once these trails are blazed. And it's pretty exciting to have hundreds of us doing this in a culture of excellence. So thank you all for being a part of not only Autonomy, but this podcast. This has been something very rewarding and exciting for me to be able to put together and organize each week, because we get to actually hear from the students and what we're all accomplishing, and try and memorialize what we're all doing each week, because otherwise it flies by so incredibly fast that it's hard to remember all the steps that we've been taking in order to make these large goals happen. So really appreciative for all of you, and I'm really excited about even season 3, because this momentum that we're just building as a community is really going to have an impact on this world, and it's a much needed torch to light in this darkness. So I appreciate all of you joining me today, and look forward to talking to you more in the community. And we'll see you next time on Do It Live podcast. Make sure to subscribe. Hopefully you'll see this on BitChute now, but make sure to ring that bell to never miss an episode. See you next time.